Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well and staying healthy. Today I'm going to do a short review of the book New Kid by Jerry Craft, which is a middle grade graphic novel, so for middle school students primarily. And I read it this summer as part of a book club that I was doing with some local middle school students. And despite it being a book that's targeted for kids, I think it's one that really anyone can enjoy, and I certainly enjoyed it myself. It also happens to be the 2020 Newberry Award winner and was the first graphic novel to win this award. So that was really cool to me. If you're not super familiar with the Newberry Award, it's an award that's given every year for an outstanding children's book. That is like a novel-length sort of children's book. Picture books for younger children fall in a different category, which I think is the Caldecott Awards. But if you saw the list of Newberry Award winners, you might recognize many of the books that are on that list. For example, I looked back at the list to kind of refresh myself, and some of the ones that I saw were Holes by Louis Sachar, or Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, Maniac McGee by Jerry Spinelli. So those are a few of the ones that I read when I was at the target age, but all of those are ones that I think I could still enjoy reading today. So I'm just going to say I really enjoyed this book, and it's a super easy read, easy enough that you could probably read it in one sitting without a problem. Many of the students that I was working with this summer at this book club actually finished it. I don't know if it was in one sitting, but they finished it within the first week of the summer book club. So maybe if you work with students, it also could be good if you're working with students who maybe need a little bit of an extra push to get them reading, because it's easy to keep going once you get started. Personally, it took me about 2 or 3 sittings, but I could have finished in one sitting if I'd wanted to, probably about 2 or 3 hours total. And that was at a pace that I was really just enjoying it. So New Kid is, as I mentioned, a middle grade graphic novel about a black boy, Jordan, who is, I think, in 7th grade. He lives in the Bronx, and he's taken a bus across town for the first time to go to a school in a wealthier neighborhood. Most of the kids there are white and also come from families with quite a bit of money. He's not exactly a social outcast at the school ever, in the sense of like being someone who always gets made fun of, but he does have sort of a hard time fitting in just because of that disparity between his previous experiences and the experience at this new school, where some of the kids play sports like squash, which he doesn't even realize it's a sport until like pretty much the end of the book. And this was definitely an interesting aspect for me because, even though I'm not at the target age for this book, I think it gives me a good insight into the experience of what it might be like to attend a school where it feels like you're a minority or not, or just have a harder time fitting in naturally than some of the other students. Now, I'm not going to do any spoilers in this review, but also, if I'm going to be completely honest, it's not really the type of novel that can be spoiled so much, because most of it is just the experience of reading each chapter, seeing the way the author draws these scenes and paints this picture of this boy attending a new school. And that really takes center stage as much as any central conflict. So as is probably already obvious, one thing that I really like about this book is that it gets at some serious topics of race, class, and belonging, but all within a framework that manages to stay lighthearted and funny, even when the main characters have like some challenges that they go through. And although I haven't quite gone through the same experiences as the main characters myself, the way that they were presented made them feel universally understandable and relatable. And the author manages to pack quite a bit into this short book without ever feeling like it's just getting to be too much different stuff going on. Some of the minor characters appear only maybe a few times throughout the book for a really short time, but I still felt like I kind of knew them because they're portrayed in a way that makes them really memorable. So I'm not really going to say too much more about this book because I think you should just experience it for yourself, but I will mention a few aspects that really stood out to me and that I'm going to remember for quite a while. One aspect I really enjoyed was seeing Jordan's interactions with his new friend Drew. Drew is the only other black kid at the school. It takes a little while for the two of them to talk with one another, and then when they do talk with one another, they kind of joke about how they're finally talking with each other like everyone else has been expecting them to. The two black kids at the school making friends with one another. They also kind of bond over some of the experiences that they have in common, just being the minority students at a school where they feel like they have a little bit of trouble fitting in. So Drew is really an excellent student. He's probably one of the best students in the class, is the impression you get. In spite of that, some of the teachers still tend to have low expectations of him, and they commit these sort of microaggressions towards Drew and sometimes towards Jordan. But like, for example, there's this one teacher who seems to think that Drew sort of has an attitude problem, who admittedly he does kind of have like a little bit of a talking back, thing. It's mostly just because he's so sick of having these microaggressions be committed against him. Like at one point, he's talking with Jordan, and he says, like, "See you later, dog." And the teacher says to him, "Oh, I don't think that's very polite to be calling Jordan a dog. You got to watch your mouth." And he gets pretty upset about it. So we definitely get to see Drew clash with the teachers a little bit in a way that the reader is very sympathetic to Drew. I also think it's fun seeing how Jordan relates to his new friend Liam. So Liam is a white kid who actually gives Jordan a ride to school on the first day, but at the time it just seems like they don't have anything in common, and Jordan thinks Liam seems really boring. And not only that, but it's hinted pretty early that Liam is from a super wealthy family who's actually given a lot of money to the school. But as we see Jordan and Liam interact more, we begin to understand Liam a little bit more, and we understand that he actually has his own insecurities at the school, which is really interesting seeing that framed from, a middle schooler's perspective, where Jordan sees Liam and all these other students as people who kind of just naturally fit in. Like Liam is white and wealthy, and he understands what other people are talking about when they're talking about squash. Yet we learn that Liam also struggles in his own way to feel like he fits in, kind of highlighting how even though we experience these things in different ways, we have common, or at least some parallel experiences when trying to fit in at school. And then one other aspect I really enjoyed was seeing the way that Jordan's relationship with his friends back home, kids who he used to play basketball with, seeing what it's like when he goes back and interacts with them again after having been at the wealthy school for a while, and just seeing how that kind of changes the dynamics of their friendship. But I won't say much more about that because I think you should read this book. Even if you're well past middle school, it's an easy read and you can get a lot out of it. So I gave the book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward as well to reading Class Act. Actually, I just started reading Class Act, which is the sequel to this book that just came out maybe within the past month or so. And I'm only a few chapters into that one, but I'm already enjoying it. And hopefully I'll do a review of that one soon too, because so far it's brought the same fun and the same lovable characters as New Kid, but also raised a few different issues than the ones that we saw in New Kid. So it doesn't feel like it's just a strict clone of the original book. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this review, and leave me a comment if you read New Kid or any other books like it that you enjoyed, and let me know what you thought of it. Bye, and happy reading.